Hey everyone, welcome back. Dr. Ashley here, and today we are going to talk a little bit about 5 tips to take better care of your feet. We all know pain in the feet can be an actual pain in the butt. Why? Because we use our feet on a daily basis. So if you're struggling with something like plantar fasciitis or even some metatarsalgia or things like that, stay tuned to learn more about certain things that you can technically do overall to just keep your feet in better shape. And also make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. The foot is a tricky structure. There's over 20 bones, over 30 joints, and a whole bunch of muscles that help us stabilize the foot and keep it doing what it really needs to do to help support our body. The other thing that people often forget is muscles can get stronger no matter where they are. So why are we not strengthening our feet? And why are we not looking elsewhere to see whether there's areas of the body that really can actually help the feet stay healthy? So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about today about taking care of your feet is making sure that you wear different types of shoes. The reason being is not every shoe is made the same, and some actually have different what we call heel toe drops. They have different cushion, and actually changing that up from time to time is really good for the muscles of your foot. It adapts to different things. They learn how to function in a different way, and it's great to just continue to let your foot learn as time goes. So, for example, I have a shoe here. This shoe has a 10 millimeter heel toe drop. I'll keep going. This one that I wear has a 4 millimeter heel toe drop. So basically what that means is the difference in the heel height versus the toe height, and basically the difference between the two. What that can actually do for some people is if you're dealing with toe pain, you might something like this with a 0 millimeter drop. If you're dealing with something with like an Achilles pain over time, you might something with a higher drop like the 10 millimeter or say even a 12. The thing with different shoes is it makes your foot work differently, which is just super important for health over time. So think about it. And also find sometimes a shoe, and I'll go back to this guy, that gives your toes a little bit more space. If we compare the size of the shoe, all right, and I'll do the same shoe, you can see that this shoe over here has a little bit more toe room than this one over here. And if your toes feel scrunched in a shoe, why not give it a shot? So let's move on to the second thing you should do to help keep your feet healthy. Tip number 2 for healthy feet is making sure that you actually do foot strengthening exercises. We all forget how many muscles sit on the bottom of the foot. And most of the time, people think of things such as orthotics or stretching rather than any type of strengthening exercises. So what are some simple things that you can do? Let's go ahead and show you. When we talk about strengthening the feet, we're talking about all the little muscles that control how the toes move, as well as some of the ankle muscles. So what you want to make sure you can do, go ahead, raise your big toes up by themselves while keeping all of the other toes on the ground. The other things that you want to focus on are, say, raising up all of the other toes off the ground, meanwhile your big toe stays on the ground. And then you're going to work on spreading your toes, right? I, as you can probably see, can spread my toes much better on the left than on the right. But what you really want is for everything to be equal. That's a great way to start strengthening. The other things that you can do, go ahead, throw a towel underneath your toes and work on some towel scrunches. Or even work on picking up some things such as marbles or pens. Those are great ways to really start strengthening the feet. Another exercise I like to use to start strengthening the feet is simply just a small little heel lift off the ground and hold this. This will make you work really hard in all the lower muscles of the foot and the leg. You can also do things such as small little marches here from side to side. Okay, this is a little bit trickier, and as you get better at them, they'll always get easier. So those are just a few ways to start strengthening your feet. Tip number 3 when kind of looking for things to examine when you're dealing with foot pain, or even if you just want to keep your feet healthy, is looking at your mobility of your toes. So how well or how spaced are they? How well does your big toe move, and how well does everything else move? So let's go ahead and give you a way to look at that, especially the big toe, to make sure that your feet are in good shape.
So what you should really be looking for when we're looking at how your toes move is how far can the big toe come up off the ground. If it's stuck, say, in this territory, or even if it won't come up, that might be something you need to work on. If you have a little bit of arthritis in here, you might experience a little bit of limited toe mobility, but what we recommend is working on stretching that gently. We should also make sure that the other toes also can come up as well as being able to bend. Right? So we want the toes to be able to move in all different directions, especially when we're talking about the flexibility and mobility of the toes.
All right, so say you have a little bit of limited great toe mobility. I have pretty good mobility here, but if you are struggling with this, one thing I recommend, basically grab your great toe, pull out a little bit, and work on a stretch here. Say hold this for, say, 30 seconds 3 times. There's also another way you can do this, and let's jump to that.
Another way that you can actually work on your great toe mobility is actually using a door jamb. So go ahead, get your foot up against the door jamb, and basically you could stretch your toe just like this. All right, not a bad thing to do, especially if you are struggling with a little bit about how that big toe moves.
All right, so we've talked about toe mobility, foot strength, and all of that jazz. Hips are important too. Why? Because they can actually help control how much you may have some movement of the feet. So let's go over some strengthening exercises. Strength exercise number 1 that I like to give for hip strength, okay, is a clamshell. So you're gonna be lying just like this. You're gonna go ahead, roll your hips forward, feet stay together, and you're gonna raise up and back down, and up and back down. The kicker here, do not let your whole body rotate. If you feel that, then decrease your range of motion. The other one I would recommend doing in this position, put your foot out and go ahead and just lift up and down. The thing here, don't let your leg cheat too far forward. We want it actually slightly back. So if you have a wall behind you, maybe use that as a cue. All right? Go ahead and try both of those for, say, 3 sets of 10 to start and see how it goes. And let's move on to something a little bit more difficult, but it's also going to help your feet as time goes on. All right, folks, so we already went over some lying down exercises for the hips to help with your feet. So let's go ahead and do something in standing. Basically, what you're gonna think about is knees not collapsing together, knees being pushed out to the side, and getting that arch of your foot to really start working. You're gonna shift your weight over to one side, trying to maintain everything nice and in line, and you're gonna tap your foot out to the side. If you want to make this a little bit more of a challenge, and as long as you're not letting your body move all over the place, or your knee and your foot's not wobbling, go ahead, grab a band, all right? Grab a band and put it right around your knees. And what you're gonna do is the exact same thing. Knees out to the side, shift to one side. I'll go this side this time. Shift to one side and go ahead, tap out to the side. Goal, torso nice and level. You're not doing too much of this. And you're getting some foot and hip health in at the same time, which overall is just gonna help you take better care of your feet. And last but not least, of things to work on to make sure that your feet stay healthy is balance. Work on things such as standing with your feet nice and narrow. You can work on standing on one leg. The other thing that sometimes I love to throw at people is walking in a narrow line. If those are difficult, you're more than welcome to hold on to something. Put yourself in a corner just in case you're a little unsteady. The big thing about balance and feet is it makes you recognize a little bit more about where your body is in space. It makes sure that your feet are working the entire time to help you stay there, okay? That's why we see dancers who are on one foot often. Their feet are typically really strong. They're on their toes. They're doing different things, and it's just important to be able to balance to make sure you stay healthy over time anyway. Well, everyone, that is a wrap on my 5 things to take better care of your feet. Don't forget, Foot strength is important, foot mobility is important, and I mean, who doesn't like to own more shoes? I mean, this is one of my favorite things. The other thing is, don't forget about up the chain. Don't forget about the hips and work on that balance. It's just gonna help you stay healthier over time. As always, if you have any questions about what was shown today in this video, put them in the comments section below and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.